Hi everyone, so today I'm going to be talking to you about how to successfully make changes to our behaviours and make sure that they stick in the long term. So I'm going to talk to you a bit about sort of the overriding framework, I guess, that we're sort of following in this reboot, which is my H.E.A.L Change Success roadmap. So making change can be hard, but if we take it one step at a time and we set ourselves up for success, we can make it so much easier. What do we need to do this? We need a process that works and we need someone to support us along the way. So I've come up with this roadmap called the H.E.A.L Change Success roadmap. Now this is a pathway to making successful change. It's based on my own experiences and how I got from someone who lived a very unhealthy lifestyle. I didn't eat vegetables, I didn't exercise, I had a lot of stress, I did nothing about it. And how I've managed to get from there to a place where now I eat vegetables, I eat fruit, and I manage my stress, and I've made a lot of other life changes as well. And exercise and all these things have become part of just my natural life. So I've put all of that, everything that I've learned from trying to make those changes, failing many times. Took me 35 years to get there. I've bottled all that up, worked it all out, put it all into this 9-step process. It's 9 simple steps. It's based on the way that our brains process change. So I have a scientific background from a biology degree, so I like everything to be based on research and fact, and I like it all to be very logical. And with this roadmap, we can make huge transformation possible with small, achievable actions. And I would love to be able to take you through the whole of this in this reboot, but it would take me hours to really properly talk you through any of this, and proper hours and hours, and it's much better done on a one-to-one basis, where we can take bits, go and work on them, discuss them together, really go through it and properly. It needs to be done properly. So I haven't got time to talk you through all of that today, but what I can do is take you through the essence of it. So all of these principles I'm about to talk about are what we're following in the reboot. So the things like only doing a couple of changes at a time, finding our why, really trying to be mindful about why we eat like we eat, and think about our barriers and why we struggle. They're all extracted because you're essentially following this roadmap. You just don't know it. So I thought I'd explain through what we're doing so that you can see how it all fits in and get an idea of this process. Okay, so how do we make a change? We go on a journey. If I asked you to think of somewhere that you wanted to go and how you would get there, you'd probably set off on a journey, you'd have a goal in mind, if you're old school, get a map out, or you'd just plug it into Google Maps, but you would know how that you would make that journey. So sadly in life there is no Google Maps, but the process of the journey still remains the same. So we still need to know where we want to go, so we need to think about where we want to be. And in this case, we're thinking about in terms of diet and lifestyle. How do we envisage our life? Where, thinking big, thinking dream. Where do we want to be? And step 2 is to work out why we want to be there. So this is what we covered on Monday: is really working out why. What does this mean to us? Why is it important to us? And finding our proper motivation. Then step 3 is to work out where you are, because you can't figure out where you're going to go if you don't know where you are. If you're trying to read a map, you need to be there, but you have no idea where you actually are on the map, it's very difficult to actually navigate yourself there. So we need to become very mindful about where we are, understand our habits, understand the situation we're in currently. Then step 4, we need to be mindful about our eating. So I've asked people who've done a bit of this week, why are you going to eat that chocolate? Why have you picked that for dinner? It's these sorts of things, just starting to understand what causes us to do things on a daily basis. Okay, step 5 then is to identify our barriers, identifying the things that stop us, things that get in our way, things like time, things like having to feed children. There are many barriers, things that we hating the smell of fish, not liking vegetables. These are all barriers that get in our way. So we need to really understand why we're here at this place, what's keeping us here in terms of our habits, and what's getting in the way whenever we try to move on. Okay, so all of that gets us to know where we want to go, why we want to go there, where we're starting from, but we need to know how we're going to get there. So step 6 is then to identify the steps that are required. And then step 7 is to pick some small steps. So after doing step 6, you may well end up with a huge list of actions to take to get you to where you really want to be, that goal place. And that can be a bit overwhelming or incredibly overwhelming. So what we do, and that's why step 7 is important, is we prioritise and we pick some that can be done now. And we say the rest of them can wait. We're not doing them right now anyway, so they can wait. We work on these ones first. We set ourselves some achievable goals, and then we actually take action on these. So we actually implement them and we get those few done. And then once we have a couple of changes that we've managed to make, so say for this week we've tried to just pick a few. Once those are in place and they're part of your, they become habits, they're part of what you do naturally without having to really think about it and put a huge amount of effort into it, you can pick up some others and go back to the list, pick up a couple more, start on those. Okay, and then step 9 is to continuously reassess and correct. So it's all well doing all the planning up front, working out where you're going to go. If we go back to going on a journey analogy, very well knowing where you're going to go, but if you set off and you're just hoping that you're going to get there, you need to be reassessing, looking at the signs, checking that you're still going the right way. So we need to be constantly just keeping that mindfulness up, really, and just every now and then just checking in. It's not a huge job, just make sure you take time every couple of days, even just to think, how am I doing with this change? Am I managing it? Is it working for me? What am I finding hard about it? Could I change anything? Is this really just not working for me? So that we can make sure that we have set ourselves up in the best way to keep it going, to make it work. Okay, now through this process, we will then continue to make these small steps, make these small improvements. Yes, you're always going to slip, you're always going to have the bad days, you're always going to have a change that you just, you pick the wrong way to implement it, and you're going to fall back. And so you're going to move through a few steps, and you're going to fall back a couple, and then you'll keep moving. We reassess, we gather, we move on, and we just keep making these small steps forwards. And therefore, over time, you end up with this huge transformation that then becomes, it doesn't require a huge amount of energy to keep it going. It's maintainable because it's become habit because of the way we've done it. So that's how I've got to where I am, and that's this process that I've effectively used. So hopefully that helps, gives you some ideas. I say, if you think that sounds like a good process, like a solid process, and you can see how it's sort of been working in the reboot and actually think it's been working for you, there's a whole load more that we could do together around this to really implement it, to really make it work for you. Just knowing the steps isn't really enough unless you're like a massive kind of go-getter, really good at taking something like that and just rolling with it. So if you feel like you would like more support, you want to go further with this, obviously I would love to help you and love to work with you more after the reboot. So feel free to message me, or we'll have the call at the end of the reboot, the call that comes afterwards, which you're welcome, get on the phone with me and we discuss how we take this forwards, how you can keep this sort of momentum that you've gained in the 10 days, and just give you some sort of one-on-one tips. And obviously we can discuss this and how we can work together more in the future then if you wanted to. So hopefully that's helped, and thank you for listening, and I will speak to you again tomorrow. Night.